Hi, Sandy Phillips here and welcome to the Property Pipeline Pro podcast, a show about online digital marketing, business growth and personal development. This show is designed to give you the solid marketing foundation every property entrepreneur needs to build a strong business from the perspective of online and digital marketing, to feel in control and live a more focused life. Hi and welcome to this Property Pipeline Pro podcast, where I'm going to be looking at an essential but often forgotten aspect of the motivated seller marketing funnel. And that's the all-important process of follow-up and how automating this process can be incredibly lucrative. Yes, motivated seller declined offers can be worth a fortune. Now, don't forget you can access the podcast through all the usual podcast channels, such as YouTube, Spotify, Apple and Google. So choose your favorite and don't forget to subscribe and follow so you don't miss any of these information-packed bite-sized marketing pods. So let's get on with this. Now, the follow-up process seems like an obvious thing to do. But I know from working with hundreds of property investors that it's not always the case and never as simple as it seems. Most of the time, the follow-up process is left to scribbled notes in a diary, or worse still, not even thought about. But if you do think about it, it takes a lot of time, effort, and if you're advertising, money to get fresh, motivated seller leads. And if you've already started a lead generation program, you'll know that real deals are very few and far between. So if someone's turned you down on your offer to purchase, you may wonder why you should bother going back and re-engage with that person, when all the time you know you need to be spending your time generating new motivated seller leads. This is why when you have a solid automated marketing system in place, you can do just that. You don't have to worry about following up. All you do is just carry on looking for new deals. But the reason you can do this is because the technology will do all the hard work. The technology, the marketing automation, will automatically do all the follow-up for you. Now, I'll go into the technology needed in a while, but first, let's think about what following up actually means and how it can be incredibly lucrative. Now, if you have a marketing system, you would have probably got the motivated seller lead either by sending them to your motivated seller website, where they would have filled in a form and they would have left their name, their telephone number, their email and the details of the property. Or you may have collected the same information using a Facebook lead ad. Whichever way you collected that information, you know that during the conversations you'll have with the motivated seller, you're going to give them an offer on their property. Now, from this conversation, there are a few answers. One could be they need to think about it. If this is the case, you go into an immediate follow-up process, making a detailed note to call them back in a few days, just to encourage them to make a decision. That sort of follow-up you can handle at the time. Outside of that scenario, there are two options left. Either they're happy with the offer and want to proceed with the buying process, which is great, or they decline your offer. Now, for many investors, this is the end of the conversation. They may make some mental note to call the vendor back, but most people never do. They're always focusing on marketing to new people, and this is really where your efforts should be focused. However, you also need to follow up people who, to all intents and purposes, are or may seem a lost deal. This is where the tech comes in. When we work with a client building their property funnels, we create an email sequence that will drip out over time, automatically following up all those who declined an offer. And let's face it, most people we speak to decline our offers or fall off the radar somehow. So if you think about it, this is a sizable audience. This is a big chunk of those leads you've worked hard to get. This technology is triggered whilst on the call. And this is all done through pipeline technology. You see, we install pipeline technology in the systems we provide. So not only can our clients know exactly where every lead is and at what stage of the process they are, but because we use pipeline technology, if a motivated seller is slightly less motivated than we'd like them to be and rejects our offer, all our client has to do is move them in the pipeline to the declined offer column. This is all it takes to trigger our follow-up email sequence. This is why I love automation. If they decline, you can just move them to the declined offer column and get on with generating new fresh leads while the software does all the follow-up, does all the hard work. Now, the sequence is what we want it to be, but we found this type of sequence gets the best results. And while I go through this, I'll touch on the psychological reasoning behind the timing and the wording of the sequence. So let's get started. The first email goes out immediately. So as soon as the client puts a motivated seller into that column, that declined offer column, this first email will get triggered out immediately. And it'll say something like this. Hi, this is just a quick email to confirm that you declined our offer and to say that we completely understand. If you change your mind at any time, please consider us, and I wish you all the luck in the future. If you need to get hold of us, please call us directly and then you put your phone number in. Now, this is designed to keep a good vibe going between you and the vendor. You understand their position and consequently their decision to decline, and you wish them all the best in the future. You're also saying, if you change your mind, don't hesitate to call. Now, all this does a couple of things. Firstly, it leaves the door open to them. They can call you back if they need to. The fact that you've stated that you understand leaves a pleasant taste in their mouths, and they feel able to come back, which is the most important thing. The other thing here is if the seller manages to sell their property for a price in the time frames that suited them, then most of the time they would be more than happy to recommend you to anybody else that finds themselves in the same position. Their experience of dealing with you should be a good one, no matter what the outcome. Treating people fairly and professionally is really, really important. And you will pick up deals in the future because of your attitude today. I know this from personal experience. And because you left the door open, there are people who find themselves motivated enough to change their minds quickly and ring you back to accept your offer, the one you originally gave them. Motivation increases as time goes by. Now, if they don't, the next email in the sequence will go out around 14 days after the initial email. It can be sooner, but 14 days is a decent amount of time to leave it. It seems like a bit of a sweet spot. Because your email will say something like this. Hi, and then your client's name. A couple of weeks ago we gave you an offer on, and then you can put the property address and the town, so the first line of the address and the town, within the email. You can do that with the software. So a couple of weeks we gave you an offer on the property address, which we know you declined. This is just a quick follow-up to see if you'd sold the property. If the property is still on the market, we would love to revisit the offer. If that sounds good, please give me a call on, and then your telephone number, and then we look forward to hearing from you and sign it. Now, this one email has proven to pull in deals that we thought were lost. When someone is trying to sell their property at speed, 2 weeks can seem like an eternity. And I repeat, motivation increases as time goes by. Now, I've spoken to lots of experienced investors who have used this follow-up process. And there's one thing that's incredibly important here. Never change your original offer. I have seen some training from some so-called gurus who tell you that if someone comes back, they're more desperate and you can offer them a lower figure. This is wrong on so many levels. Every successful and ethical investor out there will tell you to keep to your word. Come from a position of service rather than a nickel and dime merchant. Integrity in business is key to success. If these sellers, these vendors have a great experience with you, they're going to give you a great testimonial. They'll tell their friends, and you can feel satisfied because you've helped someone solve a genuine problem. So this email will either bring some people back to the table. These are the people whose motivation for selling is now higher, and so more likely that they'll do the deal, or you'll hear nothing from them at all. Which is why we have another follow-up email that goes out automatically in the background about 30 days after this one. The content is similar. It goes something like this. Hi, we spoke a while back about your property and made you an offer which you declined. This is just a quick follow-up to see if you managed to sell the property. If the property is still on the market, we'd love to revisit the offer. If this sounds great, then give us a call on and then put your telephone number in. Now, this could be the last email in the sequence. The reasoning on this is that if they have declined the offer, ignored your 2-week follow-up email and then ignored this one as well, you'll be justified in thinking that the deal is a lost one, and there's no point in going any further. But again, this email, sent a month after the last one, does work. However, the further from the initial inquiry, you'll notice there's a diminishing return over time. But the emails do work. You will mop up a few. Now, what I'm going to say next is really quite important. When in a business, and you are in a business, if you're in property, you're in a business, you'll find to acquire a customer, and a motivated seller is to all intents and purposes a customer, costs money. This is the cost of client acquisition. Now, what these follow-up emails is really doing is pulling in deals that you would have never have got. You wouldn't even have looked at them if you hadn't put this automation in place. Consequently, the cost of acquiring these motivated seller deals is in reality zero. They were, in some people's opinions, lost deals. And don't make any mistake here, you will pull in some of these deals through this automated sequence. So that's the basic sequence. Very simple. 3 emails that go out on a decline of your offer. One immediately, one 2 weeks later, and the last email a further 30 days on. Now this is a little bit of a bonus. We've tried a fourth email with some of our clients, which has brought in a few results. Now this is an email that goes out 90 days after the last email in the sequence. Now this is not essential, but it is an option. We just decided to try it with one of our clients, and they did get a few responses, and they did get one deal. Now the email was slightly different, went in with a slightly different approach. And the email was this. It said, "Hope you're well, I just wanted to drop this quick follow-up. I'm sorry that we couldn't help you sell your property at the time." And it goes on to say, "We pride ourselves in our service, and we've helped a lot of people over the last 6 years." Again, this is really sort of putting in some reputation and authority into the email. And then it goes on to say, "Just wanted to drop a line to see if you have been able to sell your property at all. If not, I believe we're in a position to take another look at your property and reevaluate our offer. Whatever you decide, we're here to help. Best wishes," and then end your email. Now you need to understand that this email is a very speculative email. However, communication and respectful communication at that is the key to any business. And this last email has got results. The client we did this with, as I say, got a deal. Now I don't believe this is typical, but you never get anything unless you ask. But they also got some replies and some feedback saying, "Thank you for your email," and then going on to tell them where they were in the process. Some had sold their property, some had not sold their property, but their circumstances had changed. The point of this whole follow-up sequence is that it can be set up and forgotten about. It works on autopilot in the background and can bring in the occasional deal that you would have never have got because you would have thought it would be lost. So as the title suggests, motivated seller declined offers are worth a fortune. If you could just get 3-4 more deals in a year, that could be worth thousands to you. Anyway, that's it for this week's podcast, and if you like what you hear, it'd be great if you could give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate your support, and it would go a long way to help us to reach more people, which is what we're trying to do with this podcast, to help as many property investors build a property business online professionally and with a focused approach. And don't forget you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple and Google. And if you want some help getting your property business online, then book a quick call with me at a time that suits you. I'm here to help. I'll stick the link to my appointment scheduler in the description below, as well as the links to our Spotify, Apple, Google and YouTube. So until next time, happy property marketing.